Welcome to Rauta and one of the first reviews of 2025. New year, new things and all that stuff. Not so much happening, but here we travel to 2024 with a band called Dark Embrace from Spain and their album Land of Witches. This came directly from the band and it's a nice looking non-glossy digipack featuring the booklet, of course. So let's first take a look at this one, what you would get if you put your money on it and acquire a copy, maybe directly from the band, assuming you are one of those who still like physical copies and like supporting the band. Comes with this booklet featuring lyrics and some band photos. And where this band gets tricky, now that we're going through it, is that it's not really a one-trick pony when it comes to the given style. Early on, the band style was something different, based on what I read anyway. I really haven't heard the previous ones, I can't really compare. And nowadays it's something different than early on. Whatever it was is not exactly right, very, one-trick pony, gimmick thing with this album either, because it's an actual combination of various styles. So let's tune in for Metal Archives as backdrop while I guide you through. Now, as you might see, there are quite a few bands with the same name, so when you're Googling it or just going for Metal Archives site, make sure that you get this Spanish one. So this started early on 2000, so almost 25 years by now, and was on hiatus for a few years. And early on, according to Metal Archives anyway, gothic / doom metal, and then later on symphonic / melodic death metal. Already quite of a salad, really. I mean, combination of different ingredients and all. And what is also curious that, and this might be related to the style change here within, is that when you look at the past members list, you can see that quite a few guitarists have come and gone through the lineup, as well as a couple of keyboardists and a couple of drummers. So it's not really a very steady band based on this. Now, as far as the Metal Archives knows, only one person is a long timer with the band, and the rest of the band, well, they've been changing. And the discography is very scattered around. First demos, like the old school way, then first full length 2006. Then comes to this big gap, which is explained here, with the band disbanding for a few years and then coming back 2017 and onwards with the albums and all that stuff. And now here we are in 2024 with the fifth album, Land of Witches. This comes with a 9-track set list and 40 minutes of music, roughly give or take, and was released in December 2024, so relatively new. What can we really tell about this album is peculiar and complex question, because usually I would have already spat out what was going on, death metal, black metal, whatever, but this is really a complex mix of different things, a mixed bag of goodies, if you will. Certainly this could be under the umbrella of melodic metal, and that can really cater to a lot of different needs, tastes, and so forth, because really melodic metal can really mean a lot of different things. Here I would say, yes, it certainly is just kind of a melodic metal, but that is more leaning towards, say, the doom metal background and the gothic metal background of the band. Doom is not really that evident here, obviously, at this point. It's not really slow tempo and all, but kind of seeping through. More that, it's the kind of leaning towards the gothic part. So here and there it sounds like some of those 90s bands which were really, really gothic. You can really imagine the clothing of certain bands without listening to much of it or reading the lyrics, because certain imagery was right there so strongly. And this is where it kind of seeps in, even though nowadays a little bit different. But also this one has quite a bit of classic heavy metal, even power metal flirts here and there. And that's where it gets kind of complicated, because when you're listening to it, obviously a lot of those vocal parts are not really the power metal or heavy metal thing, but there is a little bit of that too. Then there are screamier parts, which is almost like, are you really adding a layer of black metal in the mix? But no, it's more like a seasoning in terms of vocal works. So not really black metal and overall, but scream vocals are kind of a hint to that direction. Now, when you take all of these different puzzle pieces and put them together, it's either a weird mess, a chaotic thing, or just something beautiful because it doesn't really sound like your average metal band to begin with. And I was reading a previous album review by a colleague of mine, just figuring out if I have seen something before about this band. That it was curious because he was basically saying a lot of same things what I was thinking about this album. Like, this is so much scattered all over the place that it's kind of hard to really figure out whether you're gonna consider it good or just something weird or even bad. Now, I wouldn't call this album bad, obviously. There are so many good things here and there, but there are also parts where I feel like I'm a little bit lost in a maze, meaning that I'm not really sure if I'm gonna able to like all of it. Or actually, I am. When I know I'm not gonna, like full, like all in kind of a thing, I know it's not really my cup of tea. And I'll try to put it in this way, nice way. There are lots of parts which I feel like, yes, this band is going to places, but then there are also kind of weird, turns like, don't go that way. Oh, you went that way. Well, I'm not going to follow you there. Where this goes in a little bit complex bag of, goodies, which I just mentioned. So it's almost like a weird festival, lineup in a way. You're going to like certain bands, and then certain bands you're like, no way. And then there are somewhere in the middle like, okay, I could see that for a couple of songs, but not the whole set list and all. So this is the kind of album. It's almost like a sampler in a way, what these guys are able to do. Clean vocals, screamy vocals, gothic parts, almost melodic death metal parts, certainly those melodic metal parts and so forth. So it's really, really kind of an all-around metal album in a way. Not very extreme, but surely there are these moments, like with the scream vocals, you're flirting with some extreme metal. Overall, I would say it stands in the middle. Not really that mainstreamish to, appeal to the bigger audiences. This is too much of a mess for that, and with those extreme metal parts. But definitely not the extreme metal in the overall sense. Like, calling this a melodic death metal can be quite misleading. That obviously depends which kind of fans you're thinking of. So I find it hard to kind of recommend to a lot of people out there for these rather obvious reasons. It is so complex and complicated and chaotic in a way that it's kind of hard to, really like, okay, this is your cup of tea kind of a thing. But then again, if you're looking for something else, you're bored with the one-trick ponies. Okay, this is war metal, this is typical black metal, this is old school death metal, and there's no variation. That's where this comes into play, to show that we can do a lot of those things. Not everything, but yeah, we have a lot of different cards up in our sleeves. Maybe not the aces, but So for those who are brave enough to wander into the unknown territories, outside your comfort zone and all that stuff, Dark Embrace is definitely not up for that. But if I was a producer, I would say maybe in the future, have it more focused, maybe under a couple of different styles rather than 10, and you're good to go. But production-wise, quite solid, and these guys know what to do in terms of singing, instruments and all. But songwriting is a little bit of a mess here. So, like I said, hard to recommend this to people I don't really know who are able to just digest everything. So with caution, approach and give it a chance. Links are included in the description box. Off you go, and don't tell me I didn't warn you. Off you go. Bye-bye.